Hello folks, back again for another Rocky Brand live stream. I hope you are well. Hey David, good to see you. I do believe we are going to be reviewing your logo this evening, so hope you're up for that. And yes, I'm doing okay, thank you very much. I hope the same for you. I don't know how many people will join us this evening. It will be a fairly quick stream tonight compared to previous streams which have been over 2 hours long, because we're just going to be doing some logo reviews tonight and then we'll be calling it a day. I don't think there's anything wrong with short streams now and again. I've been super busy with work, so feeling a little bit tired, but want to make sure that, you know, I have enough energy and stuff to get through the reviews tonight, because you deserve it. You deserve my full attention on my feedback. Hey Mobius, thanks for joining. You're not first this week. Normally you're jumping on straight away, but David's beating you to it this week. So we've got 3 logos to review this evening, and if anyone's, though the usual, if anyone's got any questions, you know, around anything really, doesn't even have to be design, could be anything, you know, an ask call anything evening. Might do that one time. I don't know if anybody who's watching is a gamer. I'm a PC gamer, and I bought Amazon's new game New World, so I've been spending some quality time with that over the past week of an evening. It does take about 2.5 hours to get into a game, so it's quite boring for a while just sitting watching a menu screen, but that's been good. That's been entertaining, so I've been enjoying that. Hey Dines, thanks for joining. One thing I will say is that it's very easy as a designer to just get completely caught up in your work, and design consumes you 24/7. Some people love that. Some people love to be fully immersed in it. I used to, but I then discovered that you need to have some side distractions other than Netflix binge watching. So computer games were good for me. Let's see. Can people just let me know if the volume is too low, and I can try turning up the gain on this. I think the gain's up pretty high. I don't want to blow the audio out, but I've turned the gain up, so let me know if that's any better. And if it's too loud, then you can just turn your speakers down. Okay, is that better? I'll move the mic right close to me. Steve saying volume is low as well. How is it now? I know there's a slight delay between what I'm saying and the chat, so if you can just let me know if the volume is better. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's notch this up a little bit more. I'm always worried about blowing people's eardrums out, so I don't want to kind of have it up too much. So that's me now just peeking into the red on my level meter, so should be all good. I've got it right next to my big mouth, so should be all good now. So I just spotted there that Steve's asked some questions, so let's have a look here. What would you say is the top 3 most important aspects of building a strong brand? Oofed. That's probably a topic for a brand, Rock Your Brand call. Top 3 most important aspects of building a strong brand. It depends on what aspect you're coming from, you know, in terms of whether it's awareness or, you know, I mean, awareness is a big thing because you want to build awareness of your brand. You want people to see it, remember it, recognize it. So from that respect, consistency is a word I use a lot. You need to be consistent in terms of how you present your brand. I see, not so much with big brands. Big brands have kind of got it. You know, consistency is why they're well known. But with newer businesses that have maybe gone down a bit of a DIY route in terms of brand building, there can be an inconsistency between their visual identity, their messaging, their brand personality, and it doesn't really work together. The consistency is it's a bit all over the place. You need to make sure that your visual identity matches up with the personality of your copywriting. Your tone of voice needs to match. So, your typography, your colors all need to give off that same persona. I would say another important thing, which I mentioned quite a lot, is strategy first. It's very tempting to just get straight in and create a cool looking logo, but really you need to do the strategic work first, because that will guide you on what the logo should look like, because you'll then understand your audience more, you'll understand your own brand archetypes and personality more. I really wasn't prepped for this question because it can go really deep. What else? What's another good one? I had one in my head before I started talking about consistency, and it's kind of it's gone out my head. I would also say try to have the right people doing the right things for you. If you're very lucky, you will find someone who is very, very good at all things. And I'm talking about, copywriting, design, online, so digital, so web, social, all of that. Finding one person to do all of that who's very good at all of that is like finding a unicorn. But also one person hasn't got the time to do all this stuff and give enough time to each of those elements to do them well. So I would say it's key to surround yourself and build a team of people that can do that. Now, obviously that you're not going to be able to do that if you're like a one-person band at the start. You don't have any budget, so you do have to do everything yourself. But I would say don't hold off too long. As soon as you can, bring someone in to help you in one area, because then you've also then got two brains that can help in the brand and think of new ways of doing things. Then you bring in someone else. I kind of made that mistake early on, tried to do it all myself. I was trying to save money, but actually by trying to save money, I was actually harming my brand because I wasn't giving it everything that it needed. Whereas now I bring in people and experts when I need them to help me in areas. So don't think of yourself as an island. Try to bring in the experts that you can when it comes to that. Dines has said, do you have any tips for getting clients? I'm about to start my own design company, but I don't really know how to get clients. Again, another big question, and we could have a live stream all about just how to find clients. Really, the easiest way and quickest way is to network locally. So in your local area, there will be business groups, there will be networking events. Now, obviously, with COVID and lockdown in lots of countries, that's made things difficult because people haven't been allowed to meet up. But a lot of these places moved to online meetings. And that can be the easiest way and the quickest way to get your brand name out there, is to go and network. For a lot of people, that can be quite scary because you're quite shy, maybe a little bit introverted. But if you're going to be a business person, and I was in that boat, I was like, I still am a shy person. If I go to a networking event where there's lots of people I don't know, I'll tend to hang back in the corner and not make myself known. But it is something that you will have to push yourself out of your comfort zone to do, because you're going to have to build up the skills as well to sell your ideas. And I don't mean sell your services. I mean, if you create a design for a client, you're going to have the confidence and the ability to sell that design and explain it to the client. So you're going to have to get better at communication skills. That's a biggie. I was actually speaking to someone today about that, where I feel that to be a designer, yes, you need to have design skills. Okay, that's a given, right? That's like a prerequisite to being a good designer, is being able to design well. But there are certain things like softer skills, so what I call soft skills, and that's things like being able to just talk to people, natural charisma, building trust, building relatability with a client, because you're going to be working with them for a little while. So you want to make sure you have good relations with them. So the two things that networking will do for you is, one, it'll push out your comfort zone if you're not used to meeting people. Let's say three things. It will help raise awareness of your business and your business name. And it will also help you with your communication skills, because you'll have to talk to people. And that was one of the best things I ever did. When I started my business, I actually got dragged kicking and screaming to a networking event because I didn't want to go. But this person knew it'd be good for me, and it was the best thing for me. It took me a little while to get used to it, but that's the way to do it. The slower way to do it is something else which I did, which was create content which is helpful and useful to your potential buyer, your potential customer. Help educate them on why design is useful, why design is good, and why working with good designers is better than, going cheap and working with a poor designer. If you can create content which is helpful and useful, you'll start to be seen as an expert in your field. People will start to trust you, and when they need design services, they will reach out to you and ask you to help them. And that's another thing which I did. I started creating content in a serious way about 6 years ago. Took a couple of years to get traction with that, but now, so for example, my YouTube channel attracts a lot of clients for me, and built a global audience for me. Whereas prior to that, I was mostly doing local networking, so it was mostly local clients which I had. But by creating content which anyone around the world could read, you open yourself up. And that's actually quite good as well, because then you're not limiting yourself to a local sector. So if that local sector had a problem where people suddenly didn't have the money to spend, by being global, you then have markets around the world where, they may not be impacted. So, but that's a much slower process, and it takes, I'll use the word consistency again. You have to be consistent. You have to be there regularly in front of your audience so that they get to know you and get to see you. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing these live streams, is A, I like speaking to you lot. B, it keeps me in front of people. Now, most of the people that join these live streams are designers who want to learn about design and ask the questions that have been asked this evening. And that's great. I have no problem with that. I'll happily answer them. But obviously my main audience that I'm trying to attract are business owners. But a secondary effect of having a lot of designers who join my channel and ask me questions and get answers to their questions is that business owners who are looking for a designer will see that other designers are asking me for advice. So that kind of puts me in a position of, well, I must be an expert in my field, and so that business customer is going to approach me and ask me to work with them. So it's all about positioning, and that kind of goes back to Steve's question as well about important aspects of building a brand. Positioning is important. How can you position yourself as an expert, but also in a way that differentiates you from another designer? Why should a business owner work with you and not me? What's the difference? How are you the better choice compared to me? So you need to be able to dig deep and figure that out. Sometimes that can take a couple of years. Sometimes that'll take, working with a lot of clients to find your own voice. And things do take time, and you have to have patience with it. I know we all need money to pay the bills, but sometimes, it takes time to build up a reputation, to be seen as an expert. It's not going to come instantly. You're not going to be able to charge lots of money instantly. You can start a business tomorrow and say, I am $50,000 for a logo. You can, but would anyone pay it? Because you don't have enough background behind you to prove that you can do the work, which is, to that value for the client. So I would say local networking is a really good way to start. Other than that, I've not really done much else. I've never advertised, so I've never paid for Google ads or Facebook ads or anything like that. It's always been local networking and client referrals. So I've done work for clients and then they've referred me to other people. And the key thing here is to always remember, when you finish doing work with a client, always ask that client, is there anyone in your network of, business connections that you think would benefit from working with me? I'm quite bad at asking that question. It's only when other people remind me, and it's like, yeah, really, I must remember to do that more. Because if you've just finished working with a client and they're happy with your work, then they're going to want to help you out as well. So make sure you ask that question. Obviously, you ask them for a testimonial. Testimonials are good because that's good for social proof. But ask them, is there anyone that you know that you think would benefit from working with me? Would you be happy to make an introduction to them for me? Because one thing I'm not a fan of is cold calling. Just picking up the phone, phoning businesses. Hey, do you need any design work done? I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like it when people cold call me. I get a lot of web companies cold calling me. Hey, we're a web company. We'd love to, or we've looked at your website and we think we could do better. That's not a good way to start a conversation, by telling me that you think my website sucks. It probably does, but there's better ways of doing it. But I just don't like people calling and selling to me. It just turns me off. So it's much better to have someone introduce you to someone else. So always make sure to ask, no matter how small the job. You might have just done a business card for someone or a flyer. Always ask them. It doesn't have to be a big project you've just done. Just ask them. And it might be that the person they introduce you to actually does need a lot of work done, and they just didn't know who to contact because they'd never worked with a designer before. But all of a sudden, someone that they already trust is telling them to work with you. So make use of the client base that you have, and you'll soon find that client base will grow a lot quicker than if you're cold calling, you're advertising on Google. It's a good way to build up a network. Hopefully that helps you out. Let's see. Let's just say hello to a few people. Hey, Stamatia. Hey, Esteban. Dines is saying, can you have a personal logo that has something to do with a thing you like? Yeah. Do you mean personal logo as in for your business? If you have a personal brand. And there's a difference between sort of, having a business. So like I have a business, Pixels Inc., right? But I wouldn't class Pixels Inc., even though I'm a sole trader, I don't class Pixels Inc. as a personal brand. It's a business brand. Even if I was, Call Gray designer, that was my, Call Gray graphic design, it's my personal name, but again, I wouldn't class that as a personal brand. That would be my business name, my trading name. But absolutely, you can have something that you like. The logos I'm the biggest fan of are logos that tell some sort of story or have some element in it, which is a storytelling element. And if it's your business, then it's your logo. But all I would say is just remember that your logo is meant to be attracting the type of customer that you want, or you want a logo that sort of isn't too, doesn't lead a client to thinking in it that you only do a certain type of work. So example of that again is my logo, Pixels Inc. It's just text. I don't have like an icon. Well, I do. I've got PI, which is just the initials of my business name. But I deliberately just chose a sans serif font, has a bit of weight to it, because I didn't want the focus to be on my logo. I want the focus to be on the work that I do. But when I do work for other clients, it might be that, the logo is a focus. And so we create something which is going to attract their perfect audience. So I would say, if you, let's say you were designing a logo for your design agency and you're really into heavy metal, right? So I'm into heavy metal and rock. and you decide, oh, I'm really into death metal, so you do a death metal logo, which looks just like it's made out of tree branches and you can't read it, but your target audience were, kindergartens or nurseries or something, then it's not going to work, is it? Because it doesn't speak to that audience. So yes, you can do whatever you want with your logo, but you need to think about who you're trying to speak to with your logo. So make sure that it fits both sides of that for you, and you'll be okay. But it's your logo. But I will say that when I speak to clients and I'm onboarding a new client, I will say to them, remember, the logo's not for you. The logo's for the people you want to come and spend money with you. And regular viewers will know as well that I don't say to clients, do you like this logo concept? I will say, do you feel this logo concept fits the brand? Because again, it's not about whether the client likes red or green, it's whether red or green fits the audience that we're trying to attract, or the personality that we're trying to get the brand to give off. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit, Dines. How can I let's see, what's that, Faisal? How can I share that this design proper for brand? Also, how can I find my design style? I'll focus on the how can I find my design style. You really only find your design style just by doing the work, and I don't personally think I have a style. I know I have a few friends who are logo designers who definitely have a style. Some of you, if you're in Logo Geek, will know Craig Burton. His niche audience is school branding. He's based in New Zealand, and Craig has a very distinct style of it. It's very based on sort of Maori graphics and stylings, and a lot of the schools in New Zealand have Maori names, and so the artwork that Craig does for that. So I would say Craig has a very distinct style, and I would recognize his work. Personally, I don't think I have a style. Maybe I do. I don't know. I know that I like really simple designs, so I try to keep my logo design simple. But really, it just comes down to continually doing work. I think some people have a very specific style, and they get known for that style, and they get chosen and hired specifically for that style. I don't think I get hired for a particular logo style. There was a conversation on the Logo Geek Facebook group about choosing a niche, and I don't have a niche either. I'm a generalist. I work with any type of business. So right now, I've finished a brand for a pet food company. I'm speaking to an electrician. I'm going to start doing some brand work with an electrician. I've just been speaking to a funeral director, not about my funeral, about branding. So I love the variety, but there is a good reason to go niche, because then you only have to focus on that one industry, and you can become really knowledgeable, so that if someone from that niche is looking for brand work, you can approach them and say, hey, I know a lot about this industry, which would be inviting to that person. So it might be that you can do, that your design style speaks to a specific industry niche. I don't know. But finding it, I don't know how you find your design style other than just keep working away, keep designing, and I think it will just naturally show itself over time, really. You're welcome, Steve. Hopefully that was helpful. Hello, Reddit Creepy in France. How you doing? Bonsoir, which I think is good evening. Probably messed it up. Stamasia is saying, what about the portfolio? Is it a good idea to have it online and everyone can take a look? A portfolio is a sticky topic for me because my portfolio sucks because I just haven't updated it and I have not taken the time to update it. So it gets embarrassing when someone says, hey, have you got a link to your portfolio? And you're like, yeah, maybe I do, maybe I don't. I'm hoping that you guys can still hear me because my Wi-Fi appears to have gone off, but I think my, hopefully the internet connection here is still okay. It says it's still healthy. Sorry, I got a bit distracted. All my Wi-Fi equipment just went off or lost connection, so I was worried you guys lost connection. What was I saying? I've lost track here. Yeah, portfolio. Yes, obviously it's a good idea to have a portfolio because it lets people look at the type of work you do. All I would say is that if you can, rather than just kind of have like a gallery of like a logo, try to make it into a case study. So talk about what that project was. Talk about the client. What was it they came to? What was the problem they were trying to have solved? Maybe they were trying, they were just looking to refresh their logo, but talk about it. Give some information about the process that you went through. How did you come up with that design? What does it mean for the client? What does it mean for the audience? By having more in-depth case studies, what that does is, so for example, someone may not particularly like the logo design that you've done, but through reading the case study, they can see that you're a good problem solver, or they can tell that you have a really good process that you use when it comes to working with clients. And so the logo design itself, they may think, yeah, that's okay. It's not what we're looking for, but I really, really like the way that this person works with clients. I'm going to reach out to them and see if they'll, take us on as a client. If it's just a gallery of logos, then yeah, they might like the style, going back to, finding your own style or whatever. But I think if you can give some information that shows how you work, and obviously intersperse your case study with testimonials and quotes from your client, then that goes a long way to, giving someone confidence in working with you. So things like, even if you were using Behance for your portfolio, you can create case studies. And there are many designers who have fairly good case studies on there. I've got 3 case studies on my website, I think. They're quite old now. I've done lots more work since then, and I really should get more case studies done. But it's one of those things, like I mentioned earlier on, it's like when you work on your own, if you've got client work to do, you need to do the client work. And I find it difficult at times to find the time to get the case studies done. But what I can do is I can hire someone to work with me to create case studies for me based on the work I've done. So, I need to kind of take my own medicine and follow my own instruction. It's easy to tell other people how they should be doing things. Oh, you can do this, you can do that. And then you end up not doing it yourself because you get caught up in your own business. But I would say of everything, Behance, Dribble, all of those, Pinterest, you should have your own website with your portfolio on it. You should be in control of your own website. I mean, look at the other day, Facebook went down. I know many designers who just use Facebook and their portfolios on Facebook. Instagram, portfolios on Instagram. Both of those platforms went down. And if that's the only place that people can contact you or see your work, then you're screwed. And that's the problem with relying on platforms that you do not own. Whereas if you have your own website, you're in control of that. Yes, your website might go offline if there's a hosting problem, but you would then be using Facebook and Instagram and Dribble and Behance in conjunction with your website. But you control that landmass, that virtual landmass, which is your own website, and you should also be trying to build an email list as well, so that you can directly contact people. And that's that's a reason I started up the Rock Your Brand email, was to just make sure that I was able to contact people directly if I needed to. If there was a problem with the website, I could email and say, hey, there's a problem with the website right now, knowing it's directly going to them. So yeah, so definitely have a portfolio. I've seen a few people do portfolio reviews, so I do logo reviews here, and I've seen some people do portfolio reviews. I think it'd be quite cheeky of me to review people's portfolios, considering my own portfolio desperately needs some work done to it. Maybe if I ever get around to updating that, I could maybe review some people's portfolios as well and give some advice, what should be there. Hisham saying increase the audio a bit. Okay, so I got told to increase the audio a bit at the beginning. My audio is now maxed out to where it needs to be. So hopefully it is okay, and it's just a case of turning your own speakers up a little bit. I see that you've retracted your message about the audio, Hisham. Hopefully the audio is sorted at your side. Greg saying, hi, Colin. Finally here from the start of the stream. Hey, Greg. How you doing? Greg, is it yourself that... did you submit a logo for review? Is your full name Osborne Gregory Hewitt? Just because you've got OG there. If it is, then your logo's getting reviewed this evening. Dines is saying, I have a tree as a logo because I like trees, and I have a story behind, and I also like green, so that's part of the logo too. Can I have that logo for my design business? Absolutely. You can... The good thing about a tree is you can tell a lot of stories about it in terms of how it could relate to your clients. You could tell, the tree could be an analogy for how you help your clients' brands grow into strong, sturdy brands like a tree, and, you can help them, there's lots of things that you could think about that where a tree could be relevant to it. But yeah, go with something. You could always change your logo further down the line. If you find that a tree isn't working or isn't really relevant, you can change it over time. Just maybe do some strategy work around who your target audience is and what they kind of expect to see and things like that. But if a tree really means a lot to you, then just go for it. One of the things which I know I do quite a bit is you second guess yourself a lot. And sometimes you just need to go with your gut instinct on things and just go with it. Otherwise, you constantly hold off. Perfectionism kicks in. Oh, it's not good enough, or it's maybe not right. If that's the case, then you really need to just go for it and just put something out there. Putting it out there, what is it they say? Better done than finished. Or better done than perfect. Not better done than finished. Better done than perfect. You could always perfect it later on. Just get out there. Just get it out there and get it done. Same with the portfolio. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just get the work out there. Show people what you can do, and then perfect the portfolio over time. I'm saying thanks for the advice. How can I find freelance clients from other countries? How to invoice them? I don't know. I mean, like say, I just created content and started to attract clients, but you could put yourself onto, there might be databases, places. I know in the UK we have Upwork. I don't know if Upwork is a global thing, but there's other places. I mean, dare I mention Fiverr? You could always set up a Fiverr page and try and get work that way. It might not be the type of work you want because people, I think, don't expect to pay much when they hire on Fiverr. I know that Fiverr kind of have a premium level now, so it's more premium, but my issue with that is that it's still the Fiverr brand, and I think it's difficult to get your thinking away from Fiverr being cheap. So, I think there's an issue there with that. And in terms of invoicing, you'd really need to speak to an accountant there, because different... I just invoice my clients. I invoice them in my local currency, which is pounds. And then it's up to the client to kind of make that exchange rate change to dollars or whatever, or change dollars into pounds and pay me. If they want to work with me, then they need to work with the way that I work. You'll have certain things like different taxes. So here in the UK, we have VAT. which I need to add onto my pricing if it's a UK customer. But if it's a customer from the United States, for example, they don't need to pay VAT. But you'll need to speak to an accountant to do that. Something I'll say if you're listening and you're starting a business, having an accountant is invaluable. They can really give you good advice. They can help you to grow your business. They're more than just doing your tax returns. A good accountant will help you with financial advice and help you to make decisions that are good for your business to help it grow. My accountant helps me out a lot with that kind of stuff. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm being a bit iffy about talking about invoicing and stuff. So I said, please don't apologize for your English. Your English is fantastic. Way better than me trying to speak or type in any other language than English. So please, you do not need to apologize. I completely understood what it was you were asking me, so it's all good. Mubashir's saying how to submit. Do you mean how to submit a logo for review? If you are asking about submitting a logo for review, then I'm just going to pop the link into the chat. Maybe if I can remember where it is. Okay, so I've just popped a link there, and that's where you submit it. Melissa is saying, just stopping by to say thank you. I use your videos in my 7th grade computers and business class. They design their own business. Fabulous. Love to hear that. I love to hear that my videos are being used and are useful, and being shared around. That's what it's all about. Is just, helping others to move forward with their, whether they want to be designers or they're just designing a simple little thing for a project. Awesome. I love to hear that. Thanks for letting me know, Melissa. That's great. David's saying, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Yeah, I need to get that tattooed on my arm. Dine's saying, I'm really a perfectionist, so I can really relate to this. How do you start with a strategy for your business? Okay, brand strategy is a big topic, and I will definitely do a live stream on it. We won't go too in depth, but I will cover the outline of what a good brand strategy should entail. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. That would require a little bit of work for me to set up and do. So it won't be the next stream, but potentially maybe one after that. We'll have a look at that. So that should help you out, Dines. So if you can hold off for that, that'd be great. Steve, can we submit our logos / website for review here in the chat? Not in the chat, because I kind of need to set up some pages and stuff to review things, and I want to have with the logos, I'm reviewing them pretty much. I obviously have to look at them to set up the pages, but I don't look at them for too long. With a website, I'd need to review it properly and do that. I've not really reviewed websites for people. It is something I could maybe get into, but I've not done yet. But if you use the link that I've posted up just above your post, Steve, there is a submission form there for sending in logos. If you Google Rollco brand, you'll see it at the top. Would be awesome. Well, what we'll do is I need to watch my time today, because I have got some other stuff to do this evening. So I want to get cracking through these logos here. So we'll see. If I don't get to it today, Steve, what I'll do is I will make a note of it and make sure to feature it on the next stream, if that's okay with you. Okay, so let's that's 40 minutes I've been prattling on for, but brilliant that we've had some questions right at the beginning. It's been so good. I think we're on probably about the 12th live stream now, and the first few live streams we didn't get any questions at all, so it was pretty tricky. And so it's awesome to get questions in, and hopefully the answers I'm giving are good. Dines is asking if I use an iMac or recommend an iMac. I'm PC based. I use Windows machines. I have used Macs in the past. I have no particular preference really in terms they can both do the work that needs to be done. I would say for a Mac, it's much more. Macs are better for people who aren't who don't know much about technology and just need a machine that they can start working and designing with. I like PCs because I'm a bit of a tech geek. I like to be able to change things out. I play PC games, so I build my own PCs. So I like to do that with Macs. Macs are very limited in what you can kind of swap out and change. But either or, it doesn't really matter. Back, if you'd asked me 15 years ago, I would have said get a Mac. They're better for design, better for video editing. But these days, it's all much of a muchness. I wouldn't, doesn't really bother me. I mean, I still have my iMac. I've got my iMac through in the other room, but I don't really use it. It's just there. If I ever needed to test something out on a Mac for some reason, then I have it to test out. But it's not really, it's neither here nor there. So it's really up to you what you want to spend your money on. One thing I will say as well is that if you buy a Mac, you can probably sell that Mac on 5 years down the line and still get some decent money for it. With a PC, you'll lose money more quickly. You probably wouldn't get as much for it if you sell that further down the line. Really, when it comes to Mac, I use my iPad Pro as the main piece of Mac hardware that I use for sketching and stuff like that. So it's really up to yourself. So let's jump into the first logo, okay? If I can find my correct screen. Okay, so you should all see this. Now, as per usual, I want everyone that wants to kind of, give their thoughts on what they're seeing, any feedback, anything that they would, anything they would change, anything they would recommend. I like this to kind of be for everyone to be able to feel like they can contribute and feedback. All I would say is if you're going to give some feedback, make it positive if you can, or constructive. If you're going to say, I don't like this, then maybe say, well, why? What is it about it that you don't like? I don't want people just saying, I don't like that. That's not helpful. That doesn't help anyone. If that is how you feel and you don't like it, then you don't have to say anything. You can just kind of keep that on your side of the keyboard. That's cool as well. We're not all going to like everything. So first logo is by Osborne Gregory Hewitt. It's personal project or personal brand. Brand name is OG Graphics, and it's for graphic design. So let's take a look at the information. So target audience, we've got young, old, startup businesses, business owners, event promoters, anyone who wants to get a professional logo done or who wants to advertise their services through flyers. Brand personality, serious but approachable, thoughtful and thorough. Clients receive a professional experience for logo designs as well as branding. I take the time to understand my clients' needs. I do not rush the process. I believe that building relationships and enduring such a process will keep clients coming back and recommending me to others. Brand qualities are affordable, professional, and reliable. Got some other information. I used the initial of my first government name and my middle name to come up with this personal logo. I provide the services of logos, menus, posters, flyers, and other designs on request. I bring my clients' dreams and visions to life through graphic design. Okay, cool. Right. There's a couple of things I want to say. Greg, and I'm pretty sure it is Greg. I'm pretty sure it's Greg that's on the stream. Greg Star OG. Pretty sure this is your logo, Greg. If it is, give us a wave in the chat. So I'm going to let you guys kind of leave your comments in the chat whilst I give my sort of initial feedback on it. So I'm going to look at the information that you've given me first, Greg, because then I can kind of relate that across. So the target audience bit is really wide. Okay, you're pretty much you've said it there. Anyone who wants to get a professional logo, right? So I understand that, it's like, yeah, I can design for anyone. It's a bit like me saying I'm a generalist. I'm a generalist. I'll work with anyone as well. But you do want to try to narrow it down a little bit more. So it looks like, so you've said event promoters there. Okay. That's a niche. That's a niche sector. And I would be, and event promoters are covered by business owners, because event promoters are business owners. That's their business. You could also, it could be startups, people who are starting up an event promotion business. So that's probably something that I would pick up on there. I'd say that's, probably quite a good area to get into. Obviously, again, everything kind of leads back, every live stream recently, to kind of COVID and stuff like that. I don't even know if I'm meant to say the C word on YouTube. I don't know if that will get this video blocked, because I know if you mention it, then it can set off all sorts of algorithms. So I won't say it anymore. We'll just call it the big C or something like that, or the Rona. But obviously a lot of events closed down and things like that. So I would imagine that a lot of event promotion companies struggled because they didn't have much work to do. So coming out of a big event, pardon the pun, coming out of a big situation like we've just had with countries locking down, and that is that these event promoters are going to want to be finding new work. So they're probably looking to refresh their brand or, make an impact. So they're going to be looking for designers to help them do that. What better to be a designer who specializes in working with those, that type of company. So I just want to kind of pick up on that. And I think it's something I've realized over the last few reviews is that we focus on the logo. It is a logo review, but also there are things I pick up in the descriptions that I think are worthwhile exploring and kind of digging into, because I think that will help the logo as well if you have a better idea of who you're targeting, because then you can make the logo speak to that type of person. So yeah, and and then you talk about who they want to advertise their services through flyers. So obviously flyers are highly linked to events, festivals, music, gigs, all that kind of stuff. They use a lot of flyers. So I would say there's young, old startup businesses, business owners, I would just go straight into event promoters. Your target audience are event promoters, right? That's it. That's your target audience. You've niched in to that. So you want to learn as much as you can about event promoters. What are other designers doing? How are they advertising? What kind of flyers are they doing? I'm sure you've already done that, but go a lot deeper into it. Brand personality: serious but approachable, thoughtful and thorough. I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't say your logo's approachable. There's a lot of sharp, pointy bits, even though it's like an O and a G, which are in the main round circular. There's a lot of sharp, like dagger points on it, and that takes away from it being approachable. It feels quite, it feels threatening in a way. I don't know if that's the right word. Or animalistic. It looks like claws. It just gives me the feeling of claws and, animal claws and teeth. It just feels quite sharp. Me making all these faces and stuff probably looks really weird on camera. But that's the feeling that gives me. So I'm not sure. So serious probably comes into it because it's got that side, but approachable, I'm not sure about, and I don't think thoughtful and thorough really kind of covers it there. So I'm not sure that the personality matches up with the way that you're trying to get it to come across. Clients receive a professional experience for logo design as well as branding. It's fine. I take the time to understand my clients' needs and I do not rush process. Okay, so that paragraph there, that's something that you would have on your website, or in your bio on LinkedIn or Facebook. By the way, if you're not on LinkedIn, if you're a designer and you're trying to sell design services and you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. That's where all the business people are trying to find people to help their businesses. They're not on Facebook. Or they are on Facebook, but generally when they're on Facebook, they want to be watching cat videos and stuff. They're not in business mindset. On LinkedIn, they're in business mindset. They're there to do business. So if you're not on LinkedIn, get yourself on LinkedIn. So I would say that that's more of a descriptive of what you do, which is great to see. But get that, that's not really going to come through in your logo. The logo's not, there to do everything for you. And you say there as well, you believe that building relationships will keep clients coming back and recommending me to others. Again, that's perfect. I actually said that earlier on when it's asked about how to get clients. It's about networking and building relationships. So you're already thinking the right way, which is awesome. But I don't think you can really, unless you were designing a logo that was for a networking group or a networking event where you want to kind of have that networking thing in there, then it's maybe not relevant to what you're trying to do here. Although, when you think about events bring people together. So people are connecting at the event. It's a shared experience. So maybe your logo can represent something of that. There is an element of that, I suppose, connection, where the O is going and looping through and connecting to the G. You've got that link there, but again, it feels a bit sharp. And not really that approachable. So again, like a lot of the logos that I review, there are elements there which speak to what you're saying, but it's not quite hitting the mark. The brand qualities of affordable, professional, and reliable. I don't know where reliable comes in. I'd probably and take this in the way that it's meant. I would say affordable kind of is probably right, because I think your logo needs to be polished up and actually needs to look more professional. I think right now it's probably in the range of, I would say that this person's probably within my price range. Their brand gives off an affordable look. But what you want actually is you want your brand to give off a professional look. Affordable is a weird word as well, because what's affordable to one person might not be affordable to another person. So one person might be able to afford to pay $50 and another one might be able to afford to pay $5,000. So affordable's weird. I would probably say, you probably want to use a word like where you're good value. So value is dependable again, it depends on, what value you give to people. If you give people good value, so if someone spends $5,000 with you and they've got good value from it, then it's money well spent, isn't it? So affordable it can depend on where the person is in the world as well. So what's, $50 to someone in the UK, in the UK it'd be pounds, £50 for a logo to someone in the UK is more than affordable. It's super cheap and it's too cheap. But £50 translated into maybe somewhere like where the cost of living is a lot less, but people also earn less, means that actually that £50 is quite a lot more there. So just think about that as well when you're wording how you talk and how you're trying to promote your brand. And you've used your initials, so that's a good way to bring the personality, a personal side to your logo. And then you offer basically graphic design services. So let me just whilst I've gone through all of that, let's have a look at what others are saying before I get into go back to the logo again. Right. So Moby's saying nice entry, Greg. Sani's saying I'm seeing a lot of black and OG is not that clear. And that's you clapping, saying that, or waving, saying that is your logo. Mobius, I do wonder if this comes across as more fun, casual than professional. And then obviously I must have been talking about that at that point. Mobius agrees on event promoters. I would, from this logo, recommend you to people I book shows with. Tashinga saying, in my opinion, I would say wrong choice of font. Steve saying he likes it, but it has an urban graffiti feel, maybe more suited to hip-hop rap music niche. I got that. That's on the lines of what I have in my head. Deshinga's replying to Steve, yeah, it looks like a Cuban chain connection between O and G, which a lot of hip hop and rap artists wear. Danny R, the squashed H is bothering me. That way, yeah. Mobius, agree with Danny. Balance overall and kerning seems off. Okay, so that's some decent feedback. So yeah, so obviously the first thing that popped into my head, the OG. Now I'm not into rap music or anything like that at all. I'm very much into my rock and metal and things, but OG to me just is like original gangster. That's what it kind of said to me, and it sort of had that as has been mentioned. I think it was Tashinga that mentioned it. It sort of like has that like a chain like link feel to it. So it felt hip hop and rap orientated to me, which isn't a million miles away from it being events and promotions and and music and stuff, but it does, again, who was it that mentioned it? Someone mentioned that it's kind of got that graffiti feel to it, and I would say it does as well. And again, if you're looking at event promoters and stuff like that, then that's probably the right sort of look that you want to have. It was mentioned, Sandy mentioned that there's a lot of black, and I do feel that the black is very heavy here. And it actually, I can see the OG, but it's maybe not as clear as it could be. And this is where Cole gets out his pen tools and stuff again and starts making a mess of things. That's not my pen tool though, is it? Where's my bloody pen tool? So if we were to just bring really quickly, just sort of bring the white into this really badly. It's probably going to make this look worse, by the way. I say that probably confuses things even more, but that's why you don't rush things. But I do think that the black feels very, very heavy, and probably this isn't working right now so well because the fact that this has still got a lot of black in it as well. But you can kind of see what I meant by that. It does feel very heavy. It's quite overpowering, and I think what that does is it actually makes it looks like a C. And then you have this kind of link here, and then you can kind of see the G. You do see the OG, but it's maybe not as in your face. And then someone mentioned, so Danny mentioned that this H is bothering him. It does feel quite narrow compared to the rest of the letters. Now, it may be that you've just typed this out, and that's how this H is. But one of the things that, as a designer that you should be doing is even if you type out something, it doesn't mean that it's the best. There are well-known fonts that just certain combinations of letters together just don't work very well, and you have to go in and you have to adjust the tracking and adjust the kerning. But I kind of agree with Danny on this one. I do feel that this H is probably not. It could probably be played around with a little bit and just widened. So that it kind of maybe matches up with the width of some of these letters, but the kerning and stuff needs to kind of be worked on with it all. It just seems there's quite thick bits here, and this H seems really thin as well. The kind of the legs of it, but I'm not entirely sure that this is the right type to go with that, and then if this is also as well, if this is meant to be a shadow, it's chopped across, and that again adds to this sharpness and pointedness to it. So I'd probably be thinking that you want to sort of maybe bring the shadow down, so it looks more like a shadow, more like it's projecting into the frame, and then have a look at other fonts that might work. Like a lot of the logos, I think there's something there, but I think what I would do is I would go away, and I'm not pushing you into working only with event promoters. But you've said event promoters. I would, I'd love to see maybe a bit of color added to this to give it a little bit of vibrancy. If you're talking about events and flyers and stuff, I'd like to see a bit of color. Black and white is great. I'm a big fan of black and white, but sometimes a color is needed, or a few colors are needed to bring energy to the logo, and that may then help you. If you've got colors, so it might be that the O's one color and the G's another color, that may then help you with the interlinking a little bit more, and you won't have to have it so heavy. What are your thoughts, Greg? I know you're probably just sitting kind of watching and listening. Have any of the comments that people have made or that I've made, has it been kind of helpful? Has it given you any ideas of how you can maybe kind of refine this a little bit more? Danny, the OG makes me think tribal, like interlocking tusks at the end of the G. Looks like an arrow, something environmental. Yeah. So it was the animalistic thing that came for me with the claws and the teeth. The tribal thing's interesting as well, because it could look like a tribal tattoo. We need to be careful as well, because a lot of logos can look like other things. You can always interpret something as something else. But I do think that Greg's got something here. There's an essence of something here. I think if you can help get some balance into this, maybe make it not as... And the thing is as well, where you've got the cuts, if we zoom in, so where these letters are cut through, it's also... You've got the sort of the outline stroke going on here. It juts up as well, which again adds more noise to the logo. So every time you add these little bits into it, it just makes things a little bit more confusing. So what I would have done is, if I'd have seen this stroke, and then there's something here as well, this curve here seems a little bit flat, and maybe needs to kind of come out a little bit more anyway. It just seems a little bit flat there. But I would have probably worked out where this curve needs to go. So I would have probably brought that up so that the curve follows all the way around and lines up here, so that then you don't have this kink here, so that then that would, just again do it really quickly, but that would have more of a flow to it going around the shape rather than the kink. But that's like a small thing. I would just kind of work on that. So Gregson, he's taken in all the feedback and he's finding it really helpful of how he can make it better. That's really all we're trying to do. One of the reasons that I hadn't been doing logo reviews was I was really terrified of making people feel bad about their logo, that it wasn't good enough or whatever. But, and that's why I want to make sure that everyone gives positive feedback or constructive feedback, because that's then helpful. And up till now, everyone has said that it's been helpful and useful to them, and so that's really, really good. I just don't want... I never ever want someone to feel, oh, well, I might as well just give up. That's not why we're here. We're here to give constructive advice and we want to elevate people and lift them up and help them get better at stuff. So, Greg, I'm glad that that's helped you a little bit. And like I said, there's something there with that. And now if you kind of focus on the event promoters thing, have a look at other event promoters. I mean, one of the things actually I did quickly do whilst I remember is I did actually have a look just at some OG logos just to see what other people were doing, and just how do people... Now, one of the bad things about looking at other people's logos is that you can get subliminally influenced by what you've seen, and you might end up drawing it thinking that it's something you've come up with, but actually it's just something that you've seen. But you can't, you need to do research. We need to do, and it's also good as well to see what's already been done, so you know that you don't do something which has already been done. But you know, there are some good designs in here, and some that, you know, may well fit more about what you're, you know, more of a vibe of what you're trying to get, Greg, you know, when it comes to sort of like events and things. So have a look, you know, have a look at what some people are doing. So there's this one here, you know, that's got quite a nice feel to it. That bit of motion or movement kind of cutting out through that circle gives that, like I say, that needs a bit of, I think your logo needs a bit of a vibe to it, a bit of energy. So there's sort of a bit of energy to there. And, you know, you don't always have to combine the letters. O and a G just naturally do feel like they can combine and interlink, but it's probably been done a lot. There's nothing, you know, to be said that they have to. You know, they can remain separate, and you can do some interesting things with them. So this one here looks like it's done by the same person. Looks like it's stock anyway, but just have a look, you know, see what else is out there for OG. I mean, there's OG Original Gangster, which is what I kind of thought your OG stood for. But that actually that you know, would probably get into trouble with, I'm not sure which one, whether it's Chanel or Gucci. But that reminds me of the Chanel logo or the Gucci logo. See, here's one here actually, which in a way probably isn't a million miles away from your logo. So, see, that didn't work. Let's bring back to desktop. This here. So this is kind of, what do you call this? Is it a Mobius? Is it a Mobius shape? Look at where it kind of just looks like it continually goes on. Now that's, it kind of makes your eyes hurt, this. But you know, there isn't, you could probably say this is either a CG or an OG, but it just feels like it's a shape which continually kind of moves on. It's almost, it's kind of similar to what you've done, but you can see this is much softer. There's not as many sharp points in it, or if there are sharp points, they move into another, they kind of move into the line, so there's a flow to it. Whereas in your one, Greg, the points are like, they're final. They're just like there, like little daggers. But that's quite an interesting kind of shape there, that Mobius sort of look to it. I think Mobius is the term. But I'm thinking about, you know, events again as well, with like moving graphics and stuff. And one of the things that I do when I'm creating logos as well is these days I try to think about how I'm not I don't do motion graphics myself, but I often try and think about how would this look, what could I do with this logo if it was animated. So, you know, have a think about that as well, because sometimes that can spark some ideas that you might have for it as well. So yeah, so just, you know, use Google. That's what it's there for. You know, have a look around. And I'm not saying copy things, but you might see something, you might see an element where someone's done something that you can actually transfer into your design, but it doesn't copy their design. It's just maybe a technique they've used that you can then use in yours. So, you know, what is it? Who was it? I think was it Picasso that said "steal like an artist"? You know, nothing's new, but you know, you can be influenced by stuff. Right, let's move on to number 2. This is going to end up a 2-hour stream if I don't watch myself. I want to try to keep it to 90 minutes, so I'm going to get through this. So next one is Mutasim or Mutasim. Hopefully I've pronounced that right. Again, another personal project, but I think this is a personal project in the terms of it's a self-initiated design brief. Brand name is Serenity Global. Industry is tech and media. Target audience is couples. Brand personality is faithful and fresh. Brand qualities are reliable and quick. And then some other information. They would prefer a combination mark that uses the color blue. The logo will be embroidered on uniforms. The round shape indicates global, and the bird indicates peace, which came from Serenity. Right. So, Steve's just posted he's thinking airline. airline was the very first thing that went through my head when I saw this logo, Mutassim. It just said airline to me. But I'm confused because, so even the name Serenity Global sounds like an airline. But when I read this paragraph you have here, it says, they develop new ways to discover new movies by combining a dedicated team with an easy-to-use interface on their website. The target audiences are couples. They want to convey a sense of faithfulness while at the same time being fresh. Now, this may entirely just be a language thing, translating into English. I'm not sure, but it's a bit confusing. So is it an app to find movies? Well, that's what you say. It's a new ways to discover new movies by combining. Or am I completely misunderstanding this and reading it wrong? I'm a bit confused by it all. And then you've got the target audience of couples. So I'm not entirely sure how that comes across. Brand quality is reliable and quick. So is that in relation to you can find new movies quickly using this app? Maybe you put in some criteria that you're looking for a specific type of movie, and it gives you results that you can watch the movies as a couple. I'm not sure. So I think because I'm so confused by this, I think I'm just going to really probably have to focus on the design of your logo rather than whether it fits the brand, because I'm not entirely sure what the brand is, what the industry sector. I mean, the industry sector is tech and media, so that's why I think it's an app. But if it is an app for discovering new movies and stuff, I am confused of the connection between the bird to indicate peace and serenity. I'm not sure where that ties in. I am a little confused by that. And then the word global seems a bit strange as well to kind of have in there. If it's about discovering new movies, I would have expected the brand name to lean more into that, so it's more obvious for the viewer to kind of or the user to get that. I just want to see what other people are saying, just in case it's me being a bit thick and not understanding. As a few people just giving Greg some thanks for putting his logo on. So Steve said he thought it looked like an airline. Tashinga saying, I thought of funeral policies when I saw the bird in the blue, or funeral services. Yep. Okay. Mobius saying, I agree with the confusion, not just the brand, but the name itself and the ambiguous product. Yeah, so it's funny, Mobius, you and I are usually on the same wavelength on every call we've done with logos, and it's just, I wasn't sure if I was missing something. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees, as they say, and I was maybe just like, am I really being a bit dim here and not seeing something? But I don't think it is that. So I'm just going to focus on the actual logo itself. So I can see here that you have created the bird using circles, whether it's golden ratio or whatnot, I'm not sure. Sometimes that can be successful, and sometimes it can feel quite sterile. I'm not sure if you sketched out the logo that you wanted first, and then used circles to refine that to make it more of a geometric shape. But I mean, it's come out okay. It's clean. There's something about the balance in it a little bit, which kind of throws me off, and I don't know if anyone will be able to see this. I'll zoom in a little bit. It's going to go pixelated because it's a JPEG image, but there is actually a slight sort of a shadow on this upper edge, and then there's a shadow on the inside of the eye as well, just for anyone that didn't quite see that in there. There's something about this section here. Let's get my paintbrush and get a bright color, or a different color. There's something about this bit here which seems a bit long. I don't know if I was expecting it, it just makes the beak look really, really long. I wasn't sure whether that should kind of, I don't know, come down a bit. A bit like with Greg's, one of the things that I did was I went to the web, and I just had a quick look at, I just typed in golden ratio birds just to kind of see what other people were doing with circles and making up birds. So we've got sort of stuff like this, which is made up from the golden ratio. I've never used the golden ratio in a logo ever in my life, but I know that some people are really, really kind of get into that side of things. But sort of looking at these types of birds here and how it's more sort of rounded, and I think one of the reasons that this made me think of an airline is because this is so kind of swept back. It makes you feel like speed and really flying through the air. So like Concorde, really like it has that air. Another pun, has that air of kind of flying through the air, and then just Serenity Global sounds like an airline, and it sounds like an airline that specializes in making sure you're comfortable. It's a peaceful journey. The ride's going to be great. So if that was what you had designed here, it would have been spot on, because the colors, the white and the blue, you've obviously got sky and clouds, and it feels much more like it should be for an airline than a movies app. I like your choice of text as well. Band shrift is not used very often, or I don't see it very often, when people are showing me logos. So it's a really nice, this is a nice type. I like that. I think it works well. What I would have liked to have seen is how the type actually sits with the logo. Does it sit, to the side of the, to the right of the symbol? Does it sit below? Is it both? It would have been good to have seen the lockup. And if that's a term you've not heard before, a lockup is basically how the symbol sits with the text, the various positions that it could be. So you can have multiple lockups for a brand's logo to fit different situations where sizes and availability of space may change. But it's so strange, this one, for me, because I like the logo. I like the typography. It just doesn't fit what you're saying the logo's for. Let's go back here. Tishinga's saying the presentation is good. I must say it is. It's good. It shows, it's a nice, clean presentation. I actually wanted to see more. I was just given this one JPEG. I think this would have, this to me looks like it's one page out of what would be a really, really nice PDF document or series of slides showing the logo on things. And I think if we were just given that, if we were given examples or mock-ups of the logo on something, that may have helped us to actually get a better idea of where this is meant to be used. Because right now I'm seeing it on the rear tail or the fuselage of an airplane, and on the back of a headrest. Because one of the things you mentioned as well is that the logo will be embroidered on uniforms. And also now, while I'm looking at this, you say they would prefer a combination mark, but you've got up here that it's a personal project. So I'm not sure if this is for a client or if it's, or if it's a project you've made up yourself. There's a lot of confusion going on here. And it's not, it's not to kind of say that you've done wrong. It's not that at all. It's just, I just think there's a bit of confusion here. And it's so strange that I really like your logo. Because I'm a big fan of simple logos. There are a couple of things that I would look at. Even just that simple thing of that very kind of distant back, sort of slight shadow. I would maybe change things a little bit on it, but and yeah, I like it overall. I just don't see what brand or industry it's actually in. So I like your logo, but I don't think it fits the brand. I think that's my feedback here. Greg saying it does sound like an airline, and that's the only thing I can think of when I see this. Even the bird gives off the airline feel. Yeah. And Richard saying this is awesome. So it is. I think it's a good logo. I would love to. I'd love to see. Again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right, but Mutasim, if you have more of this, if you have this, or if you could create some mock-ups of this on items related to the product or the service this is for, I'd love to see them, because I think that would really help me build a better picture of where this is going to be, because I do like it, and I would love to see it in use, because I think that would help me, and it would maybe help the other viewers who are watching this. As Moby says, it's a tough one, because he's saying it's a tough one because it seems like the client has made some odd choices, and this makes me feel like I'm buying insurance. So it's got a corporate sort of airline type feel to it. For me, it doesn't say anything about movies. I don't feel a movie app, tech, website, whatever there is. And then I don't see where the couples thing comes into it either. So negatives aside, the actual symbol looks really good, and I like the text. I feel that the font actually, for some reason, works well with that shape. It just the obvious choice would be to go for a G, which is very rounded to kind of match the round symbol. But the fact that you've gone for a more flattened off, a font which has a flattened off G, I think is a nice contrast between that very circular symbol. And it was really cool to kind of see the grid that you used to create the bird as well. So there's a lot of good stuff going on. I'm just confused. And I'm going to call that an end to that one just now. But please do, if you watch this, please create some mock-ups and send them in to me. Just the same way that you submitted this logo, just send an update and might show those again on the stream and have another chat about it. Okay, awesome. Let's see. Hassan saying, hello Rock, how are you? I am great, Hassan. Thank you for asking. Mobius, not sure how the bird implies movies or cinematic services, but very much appreciate the centre for discussion. Hassan always watches my videos. Thank you so much for helping us. You're welcome, Hassan. You're welcome. And these live streams wouldn't be any good without you guys joining either. So it's all good. And Greg's just saying for movies it doesn't sit that well. As Carl said, it's more corporate. Okay, so our time is moving on, and we're going to jump to the last one. So this one is from David, and I know that David is on the stream. David was the first person to join the stream an hour and a half ago, so he's probably got bored waiting because I told him that we were going to be reviewing his logo. So hopefully he's still around. Give us a wave in the chat, David, if you're still here. And buckle up or strap yourself in. No, I'm only kidding. I'll just kind of put you at ease. I like a lot of what you've got here, David, but let's go through the text and, I'll let people comment in here what what their first impressions are of the logo that you've created for us here. So it's as a client project, which is a rare one. Most of the logos that are submitted for review here on the live streams are personal. So this is an actual client logo. Brand name is Ben Freeman Photography. Obviously, it's in the photography sector. Target audience, so there's no specific age group or genders. It's for people who enjoy ornithology and wildlife, nature, landscape photography. So that's a specific niche within the photography sector, and it's for professional and amateur photographers. So I just want to kind of quickly pick up on that one, David. So when you say it's professional and amateur photographers, is Ben a teacher? Is he a photography teacher rather than he's selling photographs of, rather than him being a photographer himself? Is he, or does he do both? Is he a photographer where he sells photographs, does, wildlife stuff? Or is he a coach? Does he teach people wildlife photography? Just interested. Brand personality, elegant, colourful, captivating. Brand quality is professional, visual, precise, sophisticated, and creative. And then we've got some of the information. So the primary font in the word mark is Nanito. I've used Nanito a few times. A rounded sans serif selected to complement the style of the iconic mark. The secondary font is Lato. Is it Lato or Lato? I say Lato. Chosen to contrast with the primary font and size for hierarchy. The logo will be used on a website and social media. I'm a beginner designer, and I made this logo in Inkscape for a friend who is a photographer and musician. The client's main interest is bird photography, so the concept was to combine a camera with an owl and create a new face where one of the eyes is a lens. I chose a medium dark shade of green green/cyan for the mark due to its connections to nature and harmony, and 2 shades of purple for the word mark to contrast with the green. Ignore the continued under brand qualities, but that's just something that was in the text. So let me just quickly have a look and see what people are saying. So David is still here. Steve saying, I feel having either of the eyes as a separate logo may make it cleaner and less busy. He's loving the color choices. So David's just back answering my questions. He sells his own photos. Right, okay, cool. It's just with you saying that the target audience were professional and amateur photographers. So he's like, is that who he's looking to sell his photos to? I personally think, anyone could probably buy the photos. The typeface seems appropriate. The colors go well. This is from Greg, by the way. It feels like there's too many circles in the eye on the right-hand side. Mobius is saying, nice, clean work. I was immediately compelled, but it does seem a bit busy. Steve, I think just the owl eye could work. Tashinga, is it possible to blend the 2 symbols together? If we think further, like when making a favicon for the website, the favicon space would be cramped and too busy. I love the color choice. A lot of good feedback there, and a lot of stuff which I'm feeling as well. Now, what I will say, David, is you've mentioned that you're a beginner designer. This is a really good logo. There are elements here that other people have said. It maybe does feel a bit busy and stuff, but I just want to get it out there that as a beginner designer, you've probably actually got ideas in here that could probably do 3 different logos. You've got that many kind of good things going on, but it does feel a bit busy. It's like you've had quite a few ideas, and you're like trying to get them all in, because that was the first thing that I thought when I saw it, when I opened up your PDF attachment, was this there was something about, I think Mobius said it, he said he was immediately compelled. So was I. It just drew me in. It was so unusual. There was something quirky about it, and honestly, if you can get that feeling out of a logo that makes people look at it, you're off to a really good start. The problem that you might have, as has been mentioned, like favicons and stuff, is as you get smaller, things might start to cramp up. But to be honest, I'm looking at that really quite small on my screen. It probably looks smaller depending on what device you're viewing this on. But I mean, maybe because I've seen it big, but I can still sort of make out that that's a camera and stuff. But it could get a bit busy. This sort of made me think, I'm just going to release, it's a compound path. 2 seconds. Let me just, I messed that up. I just want to kind of separate these on group. There we go. This sort of reminded me of Instagram a little bit, but you're going to get that with a lot of those sorts of icons, and you will, it's a camera, it looks like a snapshot. And I think that's one of the things as well, is that, I don't know, I suppose you do get some DSLR cameras which are quite chunky, quite squarish. Sorry, I'm just checking some more comments here. Esteban's saying, I totally see the owl on the right, but the camera has too much detail and that draws away too much from conforming the owl on the other side. Yeah, so that's my feeling, is that the camera on the left is very heavy. So the text is quite open and thin, and then you have the thinness of the owl eye, and then you've got this really heavy camera, and it almost feels like the owl's got a black eye. It's really quite heavy. I do like it though. There's something about it. I do like it. I've got some stuff showing on the side here. I want to kind of keep that for a little bit. I mean, the owl eye here looks like a lens in itself. So, I don't know. You've probably done all this yourself, so just please bear with me as I kind of move stuff around. I mean, I suppose that does just look like an owl. You kind of lose the lens bit a little bit there. Having the camera next to it, funnily enough, does sort of kind of, because it mirrors the camera lens. Well, it's the inverse, isn't it? You've done the owl eye is the white bits of this. It's the inverse of it. Which again is quite clever in itself. That's probably what makes it so kind of quirky as well, is that it's not matching. It would have probably been very easy to take these and kind of just mirror them in the owl eye, but that now kind of, I don't know, that now makes it look like the owl is wearing glasses for some reason. But there was something about that which maybe kind of helped balance this side up a little bit more, because it's a little bit heavier in the middle. I'm not meaning to kind of just completely destroy your logo here, David, by the way. I'm just throwing shapes around to see how things kind of balance up with stuff. I don't know, there's just something about what you've already done which does kind of sit with me, and I just feel that it feels a bit overkill, like people have said. It feels like there's too many things going on, but I'm not entirely sure what, and I know that we're not here to do that. We're not here to kind of bring this to a solution for you. I really like it, and again, I'll say again, as a beginner designer, this is a great approach. Your color scheme is good. The green and the pink and the green and the purple, green and purple work well together. So it's good that you're thinking about hierarchy as well, in terms of the size of text, and how people are going to read certain things in a certain order, which is good that you're thinking about that. as well. I just want to bring these ones over to the side here, because David did send in quite a few ones where he has it on sort of dark backgrounds and light backgrounds, which kind of helps us look at sort of contrast and stuff like that, and just so that people can see. Let's just bring in the black and white one as well, just so that, you know, we can see. And that's one of the good things as well, is that this is a logo that will work just as well in black and white. It does not need the color. If anything though, the black and white one, the camera feels even heavier just because of that contrast. But someone's just said, Moby's just said the right eye is really nice. It is. It's so well designed. It's a lovely design. And it's a lovely design. It's just, it just looks like an owl, and it's so funny that you don't want to have. I'm just thinking aloud here. Oh, that didn't ungroup. I was just wondering if you have the outside, so like kind of the eyebrow, and then the lower part of the eye again flipped over to this side, but you have the inverse of it, but then it just may look like a crazy owl rather than it being the camera. It's been a long day for me, and my brain's not really sort of in a big creative mode, so I'm a bit unsure as to what I would do. I just do feel it's a little bit busy. So maybe there's a little bit of more kind of work that you could do, maybe with the camera. I don't know if it's... see, again, even a simple thing, the fact that you've got the camera on its side works really well. And you would think, oh, well, surely the camera should be the right way up. But as soon as you put the camera the right way up, it doesn't really work as well as it did on its side. And I think it's got something to do with this white line that's going between, you know, from top to bottom. There's something about that. It makes it look more like it's an eye and a camera. Back to chat, see what chat's saying. Steve saying, how would the owl eyelid look as a white overlay on the camera lens? Is there any way to add a camera element to the right eye? I think that will sell it. And David saying, I've actually made a number of amendments to the design since I submitted it to you. I feel I've been improving, so I wanted to do the edits. Okay, that's cool. That's interesting. Tashinga saying, maybe turn the right lens to look like it's it's inside a letter B. Okay, so you mean like 90 degrees, like that way. Actually, yeah, that, because when you think of an owl, the middle bit sometimes does come up the way. Oh, go away. Looks quite stern as an owl now, doesn't it? But I mean, David's saying he's been tweaking it, so it'd be interesting to sort of see what those tweaks were. Funnily enough, pretty much, you know, kind of gone through a lot of the logo submissions, so I'm open to people resubmitting logos they've already had reviewed, but they've updated them, so that we can kind of review where people have gone to with them. They've used the feedback and they've gone away and they've reviewed it. We've already done that with we did it last week actually with the EHA logo, which is kind of coming on. It's developing. It's not quite there yet, but it's developing. You know, we could do that as well with this. Let's just go through here. Neil thinks that the pink and green is tacky and to just keep the text as black. I don't know. I kind of like the the color combination. I think it stands out because one of the things as well is about, you want to stand out, you want to kind of make an impact, and make yourself stand out from all the other photography logos and stuff. So, and not everyone's going to like color schemes. Again, it's about target audience and what's the target audience thinking of. So for me, the green and the purple makes me think of heather. So it makes me think of like the Highlands and nature, because I'm in Scotland, and it makes me think of outdoors and taking photography outdoors. So those colors really speak to me as a nature photography brand. But to someone else who just thinks, like Neil, he's not a big fan of the green and pink and the green and purple. But to me, they actually work well for the area that the photography business is in, outside in nature. So we always need to take that into account. What are the colors there to represent? And I feel that they do represent that nature side for me. David's saying he adjusted the colors and the inverted color versions as I felt the word mark needed to be brightened up a bit to contrast against the dark background. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't. I know you've got these on a black background, but at the same time, as the designer, you control how the logo should be viewed. So that's why, last week's stream was about logo style guidelines. So you would create a set of logo style guidelines, and you would say, if the logo is going to be on a dark background, then you say you need to use the white version. Because if you want the brand colors to be the way they are here on white, you don't have to kind of try to find a balance that works on white and on black, because then you're going to end up potentially with a green and a purple that aren't quite right, and the only reason you've chosen them is because they work on black and white backgrounds. That's not the right way to do it. You want to be choosing, for me anyway, primarily you want to be choosing the colors on a light background, so white here in this example, and then when it comes to this, and then what you can also do as well, you can actually, a lot of inverted logos, the icon may stay in color, but the text may change to white, or the icon may stay in color, or the text may change to black, or the other way around. So so for me, actually, there's still the contrast of this darker purple and the black is borderline for looking at, for contrast. One of the things that you can do when you're choosing colors, what you can do is, for every color that you have, just create either a square or a circle and just overlap them, and just use your dropper and choose your colors. And what you would then want to do is you change these to grayscale. So Illustrator is edit colors, convert to grayscale. And ideally what you want is each of these to still be very distinct, so that you've got, that shows you and tells you that you have enough contrast between the colors in your color palette. So you can see here that the dark purple is, kind of showing up here. Now, these top two are fairly close together, but they're not both in the symbol. You're using that for the text. So for me, I would be okay with that. I would let that slide. And the reason you want to do that is because you need to take into account as well. Your logo is not going to fall into this space, but if someone has color blindness and you're maybe using colors which and shapes which are like bumped up against one another, which make an overall shape, if someone who has color blindness looks at it, it may be that the colors all blend together and look like the same color, and then you lose part of what the logo shape is meant to be, because you're relying on the colors to separate out sections of the of the logo design. So a quick way to kind of check whether things would be impacted is to just quickly change things to grayscale to see. So if we take this, for example, we change that to grayscale, edit, grayscale. So if we change that to grayscale, you can see it's quite dark on the black. And that's what I'm saying, is that you don't want to get into changing your main color palette just to be visible on black. You're much better to just go with white, just for the full contrast. And one thing as well, you may have seen me say this on previous streams, is that when you go from, let's call this positive, right, to negative, it will always look a little bit, white on black will always look heavier than black on white. So you may be able to see this on screen, folks, when you're looking at these two. So if you look at the eye, the right hand side eye, and you look at the white center, and then you look at the center of this one, the black circle in the center looks smaller than the white circle in the center of this. And also this ring, this white ring here, looks thicker than this black ring here, because the white optically looks heavier, so it makes the black areas look smaller. So what you have to do actually is you have to try and compensate for that. So what you can do is you can take each of the elements that you have against a compound path, so it's not going to work. But what you would do is you would take this ring here and then you would add a black stroke to it, just a really thin, something like a 0.25 stroke to it, and then the same for all of those. And then what that happens then is optically it balances up the negative version with the positive version. And you'll see that mainly when you start to make things quite small, the white will start to kind of fill up a lot more of the spaces. If I take that down, you can see here in that one, the white circle is still quite big, but it gets quite small in that one there. So just be aware of that when you move between positive and negative versions of your logo on that. I keep looking at this, and I do like it. I just feel that this side here is a little bit heavy and it's kind of off balancing stuff. I forgot that's not the way your logo was it? That is your logo. So let's have one last look at the chat, because I do not want this to go over 2 hours. I said I didn't want this to go over an hour. We're nearly at 2 hours. Well, there's been quite a few comments. David's also saying, I've also been learning about the irradiation phenomenon, as I noticed that the white version. Oh my god, why didn't I read your comment before I just went on that mad explanation of that? I didn't know that was actually the technical term, irradiation phenomenon. Wished I'd read that comment before I went on. Well, hopefully other people have learned from that. But yeah, you're right. That's why the white version looked fatter than the black version, because of that irradiation phenomenon. Should have read that earlier. Steve saying it looks a bit angry. I think it looked a bit angry when I did 2 of the owl eyes. Maybe it looks a little bit stern, but owls can tend to look a little bit stern. I don't think I've ever seen a happy owl. And then, so Stamasi saying if the camera was designed with lines, and David said yes, I was just about to suggest that myself. So kind of, I won't be able to do it, but almost inverting it so that the fills become empty, and then the outlines. So if we, almost if you kind of like flipped it, so it becomes paths rather than fills, that could lighten it up as well. So David's saying he's going to try an outline stroke version of the camera half. See what happens when I'm trying to play catch up here. Or the opposite eye, make the eyes a shape. Tassili saying it's too busy, which we've kind of said as well. Steve, what's your opinion on changing a company logo? I love looking at logo evolution over the years. Some logos need to change. There's different reasons why companies change their logos. Some companies get bought over by someone else and they feel that they want to make their stamp on things. A company may have had a bad experience, like the brand may have done something really bad and you kind of want to distance yourself from it. A lot of logos change with tastes. So, people's tastes and how they see things. So maybe people start to see a brand identity is looking old-fashioned, and the brand doesn't want to be seen as old-fashioned. They want to, try to maintain a modern kind of feel to people, so they will change their logo that way. But you've got logos like logos that have evolved, and even right now, apparently Coca-Cola have again tweaked their logo again, just recently, just this week, I think, they've tweaked it again. But many people would say the Coca-Cola logo hasn't changed. It has changed. It's constantly being finessed, but they haven't done what Pepsi have done. And Pepsi change, Pepsi used the tagline, the choice of a new generation, and they effectively change their logo every generation, and that's what they've done. I think I'm okay with companies changing their logos if it's for the right reason. There's a lot of people talking about how a lot of logos are losing their character these days. So a lot of logos which were maybe using a serif font, they're all suddenly using sans serif, and people are like, oh, they've lost the soul, they've lost the character. But actually, in those cases, they haven't ditched the original logo. What you'll find is that the new sans serif logo is actually being used for online purposes, for digital use, because it can be sized much smaller. And then in print use and on labels and things, they're actually sticking with their traditional logo. They're not phasing out the old one. They've actually just got a different one that they're using for digital use. So there is a case use option for changing your logo as well. But sometimes changing a logo can just mean that, and getting into brand strategy side of things, if you're constantly changing your logo, then it probably means that you've not really got a good handle on the audience that you're trying to attract. But I'm not for or against changing corporate logos or company logos. I just think it has to be for the right reason. Because if you change it just to follow fashions, then your logo is constantly going to be out of date from a fashion perspective because you're following trends. I try not to design logos using trends because it may look really good at the time, but when that trend disappears, instantly your brand's going to look dated and old-fashioned. So you need to be careful of that. Tassili saying, I think the two eyes of the owl would have worked better because when the owl blinks, it's almost like a camera shutter. Just a thought. That's a nice thought. Mobius, this is a great submission, David. It is. It's a great submission. And then David's just answering all of the stuff I'd said that he'd already mentioned. And then David's finished off there saying, I tried to make the logo mark have a hypnotic quality. It does. And I think that's what Mobius sort of said. It has that compelling thing. It drew me in. It feels hypnotic. It's like when you see the hypnotism thing and they spin that wheel that has the spirals on it and it's like a whirlpool and it drags you in. That's the feel that this has. It just has such an unusual look to it. And that's why I like it. We can overanalyze stuff till we're dead in the water. But maybe that's what the good thing is about this is that it is quirky and it makes you notice it. I do like it. I like it a lot. I really, really do. I like it a lot. But I would be really interested to see what you have been doing with it, you know, with the outline version of the camera, to see if that keeps the quirkiness but balances up the owl a little bit more, or if by making that paths, you know, outlining the stroke on the left hand side, does that just make things look even busier? I'm not sure, but I would like to see it. So yeah, it's been great. You know, as a beginner, if you're a beginner, I can't wait to see where you go with this, David. I think you're off to a flyer. I'm coming out with the puns today. You're off to a flyer with an owl logo. But yeah, brilliant. Great stuff. Greg saying, the more I stared into the right eye, the more hypnotic it was. It started to feel like many circles drew me in more. Yeah, it's awesome. So I'm going to stick to keep it under 2 hours, because that's now 1 hour and 56 minutes. Thanks so much to everyone that's joined the stream today. Surprisingly, I've had less viewers than normal. There's only been sort of 15 individual people over the course of the 2 hours, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this one. I wasn't sure if only, you know, doing a three logo reviews would be good, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this. 3 great submissions, lots to talk about, lots to learn, and you know, hopefully give some value out there. And as ever, some great feedback coming in through the chat as well, which is awesome. Which is what really makes these live streams. So I'm going to hit the end stream button now to keep this under 2 hours, and I'll see everyone in a couple of weeks. If you've got any questions, or you want to submit your logo or resubmit a logo, go to rockyourbrand.co.uk and scroll to the bottom of the page, and you'll find a link to the submission page. Okay, so take it easy, guys. As ever, stay creative, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.